It is my aim to help you cut through the absolute mountain of information that is basic astrological foundations. If you've just even stuck your toe in the water and gotten your chart printed out from some source or another, you're already encountering the what the hell am I looking at syndrome. So unlike tarot, astrology is not something that you can just sit down and, and pull out of a book by looking things up. You can certainly do it that way. But if you really want to get dynamic information and real meaning from your chart, you do need to absorb a basic foundation that you can draw on as you're, looking through your chart and deciding on interpretations. And unlike tarot, it doesn't have that subjective quality to it where, the moon means certain things to certain people and it might mean slightly different things to other people. In astrology, the moon is the moon is the moon. It means certain very specific things to everyone, and it's not open to interpretation. So when I started learning astrology, I don't think I encountered the flat wheel until I actually started buying books. Even my teacher did not have us construct a flat wheel in this way. And I have found it so very helpful, and I've gone back to it again and again and again throughout my astrological life, which I've been doing this since I was in high school. And I want to give it to you right off the bat because this is going to orient you visually to what you're looking at when you're looking at a chart and start you chunking it down from this massive keywords and rulerships into categories and help you to sort out what it all means. I have given you several documents, and what I want you to do right away is print, 4 or 5 of the blank flat wheel document. You might want to just print one to start, but I guarantee you're going to make a mess of it and want to neaten it up down the line. So you might want to print a couple, just to get started. But I also want to tell you that it is absolutely vital that you do the exercises and fill out that blank form the way I'm telling you to. Number of reasons for this. First of all, we are all oriented differently when it comes to learning. Some of us are visual learners, some of us are kinesthetic learners. We have to use our body in some way. Some of us are auditory learners. Most of us are a little combination of all three, with some predominating over others. When you just, watch the video and listen, you're absorbing things on a visual basis and on an auditory basis. But when you fill out that blank flat wheel, you are bringing in other parts of your brain. You're bringing in the kinesthetic part. You're going to retain the information a lot more easily. You've heard me talk about this when we're talking about ritual and stuff. So that's really going to be helpful to you. And then just repetition. The more you do something, the more it's going to stick. This way, too, you're creating your own study tool that is not on the computer that you can go back and refer to. Everything that I'm going to give you is part of the foundation that you're going to need to actually be able to look at a chart and know what you're looking at and be able to start pulling out keywords. So let's get started, shall we? Let me take me out of the equation here. All right. Astrological foundations, the flat wheel. There's going to be several videos on this because I really want to take it slowly. I've been doing this for so long that it's nearly impossible for me to go back and remember what it was like when I was first learning and it was all a mess. So I am doing my best to take this down into just the barest minimum information so it's easily digestible for you, and you will learn more easily that way. Also recognize anytime you're learning a new skill, you have to go through developmental stages, and you can't skip any of those stages. So please do the work as I'm asking you to do it. Do the memorization, and you will get the payoff for it a lot more quickly than if you didn't do it, I guarantee you. The flat wheel we're working with is in the tropical system of astrology. Tropical means just based on sections of the heavens and the seasons. It's the kind of astrology that most Westerners do as opposed to sidereal or Vedic astrology. All right, this is the form that you've just printed out, a nice blank pie chart. Every chart is a pie. It doesn't matter whether you're looking at a natal chart or a horary chart or the United States chart, a mundane chart. It doesn't matter what you're looking at. It's going to look basically like this. Every single chart is a pie. There are 12 lines in every chart, making 12 slices in every pie. And this should make sense to you because there's 12 signs, right? Every line is called a cusp. So you see these lines going across. Those are called cusps. Here's this word. Everybody thinks the word means the place in between signs. First of all, there is no place in between signs. There's one sign and then there's the next sign. But the lines between them, the lines that start them, are called cusps. Every line completely bisects the chart all the way across, which means that whatever degree is sitting on one end of the line, the same degree is going to sit on the other end of the line, but in the opposite sign. So we don't have lines that come to the middle and then, veer off in a different direction. Every line goes completely across the chart. Every chart is oriented to the cardinal directions in the same way, and that way is upside down and backwards. So this is east, this is west. We're used to looking at maps where the west is on the left and the east is on the right. Nope, backwards. Don't ask me why, I couldn't tell you. This is just the way it is, so absorb this information. Like I said, memorization. Some things will make sense to you as you go down the line. Some things you just have to take it as fact and forget about it. This is one of those. And down at the bottom here, we have the north, and up at the top, we have the south. Just the way it is, folks. The bold lines going across and up and down are called the angles. These are very important points in the chart. The horizontal line is the ascendant-descendant axis, with the ascendant on the east side. The descendant is the west. And the vertical line is the midheaven nadir, or MCIC axis. MC stands for medium Caeli, and IC stands for Emum Caeli, which means the highest point and the lowest point of the heavens. These positions will never change. The ascendant will always be here, and this will always be east. The descendant will always be the other end of that line that the ascendant sits on. The MC will always be at the top of the chart. The IC will always be at the bottom of the chart, though they might not look like nice, neat 90-degree angles like this, and we'll talk about that in a little while. All right, now we're going to look at orienting the houses and the signs to this flat wheel. And I will say here that the flat wheel is not a chart that exists in space, all right, except for like one exception that is kind of rare. It is a schematic. It is the kind of the owner's manual that comes with learning to do astrology. Okay. Everything in an astrological chart moves in a counterclockwise direction, starting with the ascendant. So here's the ascendant on the eastern horizon, always going to be in that same place. This is the cusp of the ascendant. The ascendant is actually this line, all right? And we'll put the MCIC, midheaven nadir, here just to orient and remember that's where they are. And then we're going to start putting numbers in. So we start with this cusp and we move in a counterclockwise direction. And what that is the first house. So continuing to move in a clockwise or counterclockwise direction, please fill those numbers in the inner pie slayer, the little inner circle there. So there's the second house, the third house, fourth, fifth, sixth, 7, 11, and 12. So please go through, pause the video if you want to, and write those numbers in. Now, to give you some astrological language, what you could say about this is that the ascendant is the cusp of the first house. All right, that line that is the ascendant-descendant line, the ascendant is the cusp of the first house. It's the beginning of the first house. And whatever sign is on that cusp of the first house is your rising sign or your ascendant. So you would say, I have, for instance, Cancer on the cusp of the first house. That would also, you're saying the same thing to say Cancer is my rising sign or Cancer is my ascendant. I have Cancer rising. But that's the cusp of the first house. The same way as the midheaven, up top, MC, is the cusp of the 10th house. So, going in a counterclockwise direction. And the descendant is the cusp of the 7th. The IC is the cusp of the 4th. Now, the next thing we're going to do is confront the fact that we have not learned the glyphs for the signs. You might recognize them, but can you write them? So practice writing them. This is vital. You might think you can skip it. Some people abbreviate the signs like CAP for Capricorn or ARI for Aries or LIB for Libra. Don't do that. You know why not? Okay, imagine if you were doing math, but you didn't know the symbols for the numbers, and you had to write out all the numbers, and you had to add up, 4-digit numbers in columns. You would be in a hell of a mess. Learn the sign glyphs. This is the shorthand of astrology. Not really the shorthand, it's foundation. Just learn them, okay? Now, the same way we started with the ascendant and moved counterclockwise with the houses, we're going to do the same things with the signs. So in that first house, in the outer ring, you're going to put the symbol for Aries. And then you're going to put the symbol for Taurus. And on around Gemini. And the other thing you need to do is know the order of the signs. You need to be able to rattle them off. This flat wheel will help you learn that. So there's Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. Now, these correspond to each other. Aries corresponds to the first house, being the first sign in the zodiac. Taurus corresponds to the second house. Gemini corresponds to the third house. It doesn't matter where those signs sit in your natal chart. First house in anybody's chart is going to have an Aries vibe to it. Second house in anybody's chart is going to have a Taurus vibe to it. So when we start learning the meanings for things, you probably are already starting to see some of this if you know that first house is like your physical body and your physical appearance, and Aries is I, me, and mine. Second house is Taurus, which is all about the material, right? It's an earth sign, and second house is about money and values. So you can already see how the houses kind of have the vibe of the signs. What's important for you right now is that you know where they are in the flat wheel. So we've got the houses starting counterclockwise of the cusp of the ascendant, going all the way around the wheel, and we've got Aries sitting in that first house, and the signs following in sequence all the way around the wheel. Please pause the video and draw those signs in now. If you have never drawn the signs or you're not familiar with them, when you get to Capricorn, it's a weird one. I do it with a V and then I make it this little curly Q thing. There are several different signs for Capricorn, and they're all kind of wacky looking. Pick the one that you like best and stick with it. Everything else is pretty consistent. Now, there are certain things in this flat wheel that are constant throughout all charts. First thing is the houses will always be in the same position on the chart, starting with the ascendant and moving counterclockwise. Always, always, always. Second thing, the signs will always be in the same order, moving counterclockwise. And the signs will always be 30 degrees in size. Always, 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 always. Now there are some things that change. With the exception of the equal house system, the houses will be different sizes in natal charts. I don't know any astrologers that use an equal house system. What I use is called the Placidus system. The Koch system is like neck and neck with Placidus as far as how many Western astrologers use it. But in those systems, the houses are different sizes. And another thing that will change is that the wheel of the signs will rotate around the chart depending on the time of day. Let me back up for a second here. Okay, so you see this wheel of the zodiac with the signs always in this order. They always go Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, on, okay? When you're looking at your natal chart, if you have it to pull out, pause the video, pull it out and look at it, you will see that your first house is right here. If there are numbers anywhere, sometimes they'll have the numbers outside here, sometimes they're inside, sometimes there isn't this wheel, there's just a number sitting near the center of the circle, sometimes there are aspects in the center, but this is always going to be the first house. Now, it's not necessarily going to be Aries. This is what shows your rising sign. The point of the eastern horizon at the moment you were born shows what sign was coming up along that eastern horizon, and that's what defines your ascendant. So this dial around the outside of the zodiac will turn. Always in the same order, remember. And if you think of it this way, here's the eastern horizon. So, wherever you're at, look out towards the east, and where the land meets the sky is where we're looking to see what degree of what sign is coming up at any given moment. So what's happening in a 24-hour day is this eastern horizon is going to sweep through all 12 signs in the space of 24 hours. So you can look at it as, the eastern horizon is sweeping through this way. In a practical way, because of the way we look at charts, what's happening is the dial is turning this way. So the dial actually turns clockwise as the ascendant sweeps through those signs. All right. So this will change position. The signs will change position depending on what time of day, but the first house will always, always, always be here. Okay, so the things that are constant, houses will be in the same position. The signs will be in the same order and always be 30 degrees. But what will change is the sizes of the houses, and the wheel of the signs will rotate around that chart. All right, gang, let me come back to you. Just that little bit is a huge amount of information to absorb. So I want you to, if you just sat and watched through, I want you to back up, watch through it again, pause the video, write in those symbols and those glyphs. Fill in the numbers of the house signs, write in where the ascendant, descendant, the midheaven, and nadir are. And that is the end of your first lesson, orienting you to the flat wheel. Spend some time studying that. You will get the next video when I make it. It might be this month, it might be next month. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you're going to get something of great value out of it. I will see you on the next video. Until then, Zen Witch. Love you guys. Blessed be.